Our nation, our region, our neighbourhood. However we think about where we live, we are facing huge challenges. The climate emergency, obesity epidemic, air pollution, mental health crisis. We have slipped into a way of life that is unsustainable on many levels. Can we change our urban spaces to affect those issues and improve where we live? I believe we can and must, and the answer lies closer to home than you may think. Come with me on a journey to see what's being done here and elsewhere. Low traffic neighbourhoods are not a new idea. Over time, councils have reacted to rat running, stopping traffic cutting through side streets. The roads outside many of our front doors are dangerous, unfriendly places, but this can be changed simply and cheaply. This was done here in Stonycroft many years ago. These quiet streets were once as busy as the main arteries either side of them, but with a raised curb here, a bollard there, a few signs. Now listen. The only people driving through here are delivering, visiting or live here.
I think it's been incredibly useful and helps people realise that they can get back out on the bike and use it because the roads are safer, but there's still more work to be done. People need to feel even safer.
It's great really because it means that we haven't got that constant flow of traffic all the time. So even when we're just walking up to the street, I've got a little girl, it's just nice because I know there's not going to be a load of cars coming out of nowhere.
Just recently, this approach was used in Thornton near Crosby. It was not a universally popular proposal, but the result is clear to see. A safe, quiet road now used only by residents. A brand new low traffic neighbourhood has been created here in Kings Heath, Birmingham, using signage, planters and removable bollards so emergency vehicles can still get through. Over about a half-mile area, a series of streets have been completely reconfigured so that everyone can still drive to their homes, but it's nigh on impossible to rat run through the area. Has it worked?
We absolutely love it. It's been great for this road particularly. It's really brought the communities together. In the evenings, you'll see that we've got tables out. There's a real kind of like European kind of vibe where people can kind of get together, kids literally play out on the street, and before it was just a rat run for cars going up and down.
Before the LTM was introduced, we had a lot of traffic. You know, when schools were being kicked out, you pretty much couldn't move for traffic on the road, a lot of angry drivers, and it's just gone complete, 360 now, to a point where there's kids playing in the road, people outside eating, drinking. It's just fantastic.
So where has the traffic gone? Well, there have been complaints that streets on the edge of the area have now become more congested, but evidence suggests that will disappear over time. Why? Because that is exactly what happened here. Waltham Forest became a low traffic neighbourhood in 2015. At first, there was a bit of congestion around the edges until people realised it was simply more convenient and simpler to cycle and walk for local journeys. Then that traffic simply evaporated. They even installed secure on-street bike parking because a lot of residents don't have much bike storage around here. So, good consultation, some clever thinking, a few relatively cheap interventions with strong political leadership and an unsafe, polluted, noisy neighbourhood became this. Schools should be safe havens for our kids, a place of learning and well-being. But the day doesn't often start like that. The dreaded drop-off, cars everywhere, polluted air, stressed parents and kids. It doesn't have to be like that. This is Heald Place Primary School, where a few years ago the street directly outside was closed to all traffic. Now children just wander into the school gate safely whilst their parents stand around and chat. Oh, and the other knock-on effect was it made the entire neighbourhood a far calmer, more pleasant place to be.
It's all about keeping the children safe when they're coming to and from school. It's a very busy time is the school run in the mornings and the afternoons. We've seen a reduction in speed around the school where the children can wait in the morning. It's safer because there aren't any cars coming down here. Parents are parking further from school, so that's not the double yellow lines, that's not the zigzag lines, so it's safer for children to be able to get to school and see the road that they're crossing.
The same approach happened here at the George Mitchell Secondary School in Waltham Forest, along with many of the schools in the area. Greenery and safe spaces replaced parking on the curbs and noisy traffic. Sometimes it's just not practical to close a street entirely because residents need access. So what else can be done? Here in Halifax, they set up a permit system so that only members of staff from the school and the people who live here can access the street during drop-off and pick-up times. And it's the same here, outside this school in Hebden Bridge. Oh, and just out of interest, the council have just put a notice up to say that the experimental traffic regulation order has just been made permanent. So, different solutions to the same problem with the same result: safer environments outside our schools. Out-of-town retail parks, online browsing and the pandemic have all made life for independent retailers more and more difficult. Perhaps it's time to rethink how our local shopping districts look and operate. They need to not just provide a service, but be a destination, a place to meet as well as shop. And there are already examples of how this can be achieved. When this permanent cycle lane was suggested outside these local shops and businesses here on Wilmslow Road in Manchester, there was much nervousness. Now it's just an established part of the streetscape, and that little bit of separation from the traffic makes walking along the pavement feel just a bit more relaxing. But how's business?
I think it's really useful for the city because it stops a lot of cars from coming in. So I think a lot more people cycling and things will really help with the environment of the city.
Frodsham Street in Chester used to be a traffic-choked side road, but now it's been radically redesigned. And even though buses and some traffic is still allowed along it, pedestrians have the right of way, and it just feels like a place you want to be.
Having reduced traffic on the street is definitely good for us as a business at Bean & Cole, and I know a lot of other businesses here have definitely benefited from it. Growing up in Chester, you definitely seen a massive improvement to people coming into the city.
Altrincham had suffered years of decline, and then over the last 10 years, the shopping district was changed, pushing cars out and inviting people in. The result? Footfall is up and shop vacancies are down.
It's great during the day where there's no cars, there's no deliveries. It means that also people can sit outside without any traffic noise. It also creates a safe environment, so especially on the weekends, there's lots of families out here, plenty of dogs. People often describe it as a Mediterranean feel. People feel like they're on holiday in Altrincham.
And back in Waltham Forest, this is the High Street. When the council announced they were going to ban all motorised traffic except for a local stopping bus for the elderly and the infirm, many of the local businesses carried a coffin down the middle of the High Street in protest to what they saw as the last nail in the lid. We'll take a look now. The council's design, rather than be the death knell, turned out to be the kiss of life for this place. If done correctly, with the right plan, then contrary to misconceptions, a low traffic approach can be the saving of a local shopping district. Think about it. People who cycle and walk to the shops are less likely to use traffic-filled retail parks and supermarkets. Instead, they buy smaller amounts more regularly from nearby shops. I do, and always have.
We love it as it is. We love the way the road looks. The cycle lines is just fantastic. Obviously, it makes cyclists feel safe.
The road wasn't really big enough for two-way traffic, so we'd often have cars passing on the pavement to be able to get past each other, and cars parked on the pavement. There'd be fumes coming into the shop and so on. So I was really quite pleased when they decided to change it to being pedestrianised. Even though at the beginning people were upset at not having parking, people have got used to it.
If we want to encourage more people to cycle and walk, then sometimes the changes we need to make need to be more than a strategically placed bollard here or a planter there. Sometimes the infrastructure has to be engineered and, in all honesty, be more intrusive. Real change to our streets. It can be hard to imagine what a very technical and rather dull engineer's drawing will look like once it's actually in place in our neighbourhood. We are so unused to seeing cycle lanes that some people even think that if one is put outside their house, they won't be able to get into their driveway. But as you can see, that's not the case. Talbot Road here in Manchester is just an average suburban street, except it has a bike lane and has for a while. These residents, though, can still get in and out of their drives, no problem, and they can also go to the local shops or into town on their bikes in complete safety. I'm a bit jealous. Some cities have decided to use their green spaces as both walking and cycling thoroughfares. Now this can cause conflict between the different users. So what they've done here in Victoria Park, Leicester, is very wisely put in a new designated cycle lane next to the existing footpath to avoid upsetting anyone. As this cycle lane right at the front door of the main station demonstrates, Leicester's recent progress is a great example of how any city or town can build an active travel network more or less from scratch and allow space for all ways of getting around. What the council here have shown is that cycling is not just for the continent or the capital. Any local authority can make it work with the right political will, good consultation and, most importantly, a coherent long-term plan. The days of do it when convenient must be a thing of the past. When it is needed, infrastructure that helps vulnerable road users navigate major junctions must be built, like here in Wigan. Or this exemplar in Manchester. It's what's known as a Cyclops junction, and it's how all major junctions should be redesigned. No more cheap sticking plaster, badly designed methods that abandon cyclists just when they need the most protection. And in fact, central government have said through their gear change policy that unless you do it like this, they won't fund it. So in other words, if councils want to improve our roads, they have to stick to this standard or they won't get the cash. We have a climate emergency. We have air pollution levels that kill thousands every year, and we have an obesity epidemic. And as we've just seen, we also have the answers in ordinary places all over our region and around the country.
You'll see a completely different infrastructure in the next few years. The money's there, it will be spent, and things like the improvements that we've all wished for will start to become a reality. We have a plan, that strategy is being agreed, and we have the money, the capital investment to make this become a reality.
Now is the time to look around us and put in place what other towns, cities and regions are already doing. Politicians, planners, engineers and every one of us as individuals. Nothing radical, just what is needed to make our streets, our region and our world a better and safer place for everyone.